necessary for the best interests of children.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. It is an honour to take a call on this legislation, the Children, Young Persons, My First Call, and their families' Oranga Tamariki legislation bill. And I want to pick up both my colleagues Ron Mark and Nanaia Huta and make it very, very clear. And I take point if we have not. So we'll make it very, very clear. A big mihi, an ongoing, profound and long-standing mihi to all of the foster parents of the world who have stepped up to take in and care for children that were not born of them. It is one thing to be a parent. It is a whole nother thing to be a family to children who were not born of them. And that is happening to this day, not just through the Children, Young Persons and Family system. It continues to happen because it is an age-old strategic tool that humans have used since forever, including Māori. Whānau and the practice of it has been with us as a deliberate, purposeful tool forever. Whānau has been a customary way of recognising our connection and our whakapapa when perhaps those birthing parents, for whatever reason, were not able to fully care for that tamariki. Whānau is a centre point of how we have always operated and continue to this day. I think any one of us, not just Māori, but particularly our Māori, could probably put our hands up when we think about who else we have had to either welcome in to our whare, who weren't particularly of our birthing process, or who we have had to ship out from our whare when we have birthed them. We all have this experience. It's a valuable one. We need to support that to happen more. That is what we are saying with this legislation, Mr Chair. We need to do everything and put all effort into doing everything we can to make sure we can access safe whānau Māori, which are the most of us. Safe whānau Māori are most of us. And the narrative and the implications that are ruinous through this legislation is the narrative that implies that children first, putting the interests and well-being of children first, is separate from connecting them to their whakapapa Māori. That actually is the narrative that is ruinous to all of Aotearoa that has been implied from the very introduction of this bill. So I will continue to make it clear, all foster parents, all loving, safe foster parents are the heroes of the world. And we have Māori whāngai opportunities that we need to be supporting better. And that's why the Greens too disagree with the watering down of the whānau first principle. It implies that connecting, that making sure that we exhaust all whānau opportunities is at odds with the well-being of tamariki Māori. As a House of Representatives, with the leadership and the power and the resources that we have here in this House, we must not be putting up ruinous implications that imply that whānau Māori don't love our tamariki as much as others. And that is what this legislation has done. That is clearly what we have heard in the submissions. We also heard in the submissions, and I talk about one of the comments from one of our rangatira, Wana Jackson, who said, do you mean to tell me that we cannot find one whānau Māori possible for our whānau, for our tamariki Māori? Now the problem is perhaps, as my colleague Nanaia Mahuta has implied, we haven't created the pool, we haven't created the support, we haven't ensured that our system upholds the principle of exhausting everything we possibly can to keep our tamariki connected to their whakapapa Māori. Mr Speaker, that narrative, that implication of whakapapa Māori being at odds with tamariki order is ruinous. When we speak of the importance of whakapapa, we are making, Mr. Chair,
Marama Davidson.
thank you. We are making an explicit statement about the well-being of tamariki. That is what we are implying. He taonga te mokopuna. Mokopuna are the reflection of us. That has been the way we function since forever. Please, in this House, can we not imply that whakapapa is separate to our tamariki Māori well-being? It has been the way we have operated. A whole lot of processes came and interrupted that. Processes that we now have a job to try and help to fix. But he taonga te mokopuna has been core, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to quickly, and so that's why the language in the bill, such as should, desirable and where practicable, they're not strong enough. They don't imply that we must exhaust all possibilities. And absolutely, we want safe whānau Māori, and that's most of us. With the remainder of this call, Mr. Speaker, I did just want to focus on another section, I think, section 2381 and 239A, which is around youth justice. Of course, we welcome extending the youth justice jurisdiction to include 17-year-olds. That should have been a long time coming. The Greens welcome that. But in this big overhaul of the legislation, the Minister could not prioritise the best interests of young people who we know we endanger when we put them in prison with adults for remand. So this legislation had the opportunity to ensure that young people in remand can also be prioritised into youth prisons. But in this legislation, there is the possibility for young people to still be sent to adult prison on remand. It's apparently a resource issue. What the heck? We can fix that. We know, well, that's what the excuse of being apparently is that it is a resource issue. We know of the harm of young people being in remand, but here's another thing. How come the time counted for young people in remand isn't taken off their final sentence, like it is with adult imprisonment sentences? And I would really welcome the Minister's explanation on that. And because what it is 17-year-olds being held in remand in youth units don't get their time counted off their sentences. So, you know, we have the Minister standing to say that this is completely about prioritising the well-being of young people. Those outs in the clauses do not prioritise the well-being of young people. Mr. Chair, I'll end my contribution in this round by reminding us again, it should be incumbent on us to ensure that the practices and application of the current legislation is working. And we heard from submitters that that is more the problem than actually a legislative overview. That practice and application needs to be fixed and could be done so on the current legislation. So, Mr. Chair, tamariki Māori can and deserve to be with safe whānau Māori, and that is the same as prioritising the well-being of tamariki Māori. Thank you.
The Honourable Anne Tully.
Mr. Chair, I thought I'd just